Alright, this is Vegeta8259, and today I'm going to be reviewing Yamato's 1/60th scale VF-1S Valkyrie. And, of course, this is from the anime series Macross, or as we knew it back in the day, Robotech. Now, for me, Robotech, or Macross, was actually one of my first giant robot series that I really liked. The first, obviously, being Transformers, and I didn't get into Macross until maybe the early 90s, and which was bad for me because I just remember being so angry that I was watching it on TV, but I couldn't find any of the products or toys or anything in the stores because they had long since quit selling them by the early 90s because it came out in 1984. But I don't think I got my first Macross model kit until I was in high school. So I have that, and then about a year ago I finally picked up a couple of these Yamato 160 scale Valkyries, and they are very, very, very nice. And I'm actually surprised that I haven't reviewed this up until now. So this will probably be a 3-part review. I'll probably go over the box contents and the fighter mode in this part, the transformation and Gerwalk mode in part 2, and then Batroid mode and its articulation in part 3. So, let's see. First, let's do a little look at the box. Now, there are, as far as I can tell, there are a couple different variations of these. Like, I think they make them in different releases. I think they made some a few years ago that had different box art, and the newer ones have this box art, but I'm not completely sure. But anyway, this is the one I got. I got it from Hobby Link Japan about a year ago. And it's a very large box. And here's the front. The front has a little flap that opens up, and on the inside you've got a window so you can see the figure and all its accessories spread out, with some shots of it in its various modes on the underside of the flap. And the sides are pretty much just the same as the front of the box. And then on the back you've got pretty much the same thing we just saw on the underside of the front flap. And I can't remember how much this was. I think it was less than $100, a little bit less, but anyway, I can't remember. I would be willing to drop a $100 bill for one of these just because they're so amazingly awesome and detailed, and just they're great. The best Macross figures I've ever come across. So inside the box, you'll obviously get the figure and some accessories. You'll also get a very thick, actually several pages of transformation, and these instructions will cover the transformation from fighter to Gerwalk mode, from Gerwalk to Batroid mode, and then it'll kind of explain all the various accessories and some features that the figure can do. And also, it comes with a sheet of clear stickers. Now, this set was made for the VF-1A and the VF-1S, so you're going to have several stickers left over, mostly meant for the VF-1A. And, of course, in the instruction booklet, they give you instructions for those. So, as far as the figure itself goes, and fighter mode, I mean, it's very, very nicely detailed. The panel lines are all over the place, making it look very realistic, like a, modern fighter jet. But one thing, probably my one and only complaint about this it's not a kit, it's a figure. My one and only complaint about this figure is that the panel lines were not filled in. I actually went in with a gray Gundam marker and filled in the panel lines. So that was a little bit tedious, but I think it looks better in the end. I also had to go in and put all these little decals, like all these little red markings right here on the wing. I had to do those. There are versions of this available that have like a fancy weathered paint scheme, and the panel lines are filled in on those, and they just generally look a lot more realistic. However, they're probably about double the price tag of one of these. I mean, they're going to go for $200 plus. And in my opinion, it's more economically sound to just buy one of these and fill in the panel lines yourself. Because really, just paying double the price for having a fancy paint job really isn't worth it in my opinion. Especially when it doesn't look too much different than this, just with the panel lines filled in with a gray Gundam marker. So, as far as features on the fighter go, obviously having the movable wings, they can go out about that far and go back about that far. The cockpit does open, and the cockpit actually has like a kind of a iridescent pearlized look to it. I'm not sure if that's really showing up on camera, but it is there. Anyway, it opens up and reveals a little Roy Fokker inside, and the inside of the cockpit is actually very nicely detailed as well. And there's actually a sticker that goes on the console inside, so even it has detail on it. Put Roy back in the pilot seat. Let's see, the landing gear does work, as you can see. I forgot to mention this figure does have quite a few die-cast parts in it, the landing gear being some of those. The tires are, I'm not sure if they're actually rubber, but they're definitely like a soft plastic. They kind of feel like rubber. And then this white part right here for the where the tire actually connects is die-cast metal. So those are quite strong. And those just flip in, and the little doors close up, and there you go. And does the same thing on the front here. So yeah, Yamato paid very close attention to detail when they were making this, even with like these little fins right here. I mean, just little details like that are what really make this thing shine. The little, I can't remember if they're actually called beam cannons. The little cannons right here on the bottom can rotate up and down. The thrusters, while I don't really think they move much in fighter mode, those are movable. And then these fins down here on the bottom, they can actually pull out and then move back and forth. And you just push them back in to lock them in place. And let's see, accessories. He's actually got quite a few missiles that you can use. Let's see, we've got 4 sets of missiles like this. It's just like a little bundle of 3. And we have 4 connection points on the bottom of the wings. And these are just going to plug in, they just peg in, and then they can rotate to whichever angle they have to be at. So we get 4 of these, and we also get 4 of these larger missile pods that are gray and have little white missiles in them. And of course they connect on in the same exact way. So really you have quite a few options for missile pod combinations on this guy. And like I said, you get 4 of each type of missile. So that's a pretty nice plus right there. Also, the machine gun is very nicely detailed. It's got a little clear piece on the bottom, and the handle will actually connect up under the underbelly of the plane, and you kind of have to pull the arms out and then wedge it between them, and it'll connect on the bottom there for storage and fighter mode. And we get 4 little connectors for a display stand that Yamato sells separately that I do not own. But we get 1 little connector here that will support the plane in fighter mode and in Gerwalk mode. It kind of fits up around the Batroid's head, and it'll be displayed like that. And then we get this one, which really is kind of specific. Basically what you can do is you can pop off, whoops, I went ahead, you can pop off the nose cone of the fighter, because in a couple scenes in the anime, the fighter just kind of, I can't remember exactly what the deal was, but they were carrying around the cockpit on one of these things. And let's see, how did this connect onto it? I think it was... okay, there we go. Yeah, just connected onto the side like that. And then you can use this to carry this not on, you know, like that, but on another Valkyrie figure where it was actually whole. You could carry the cockpit of another one up under the plane, or on the forearm of the Batroid in, well, Batroid mode. So, anyway, let's see, have I forgotten anything? Yes, there is one last thing I wanted to do before I end this video. Just let me put the nose cone back on here. Let's see. Alright, there we go. Let me get my hobby knife and pull this back under. There we go. And pop this head back on. Okay, one last thing I wanted to do was to do a quick size comparison to a mobile suit, because these are in 1/60th scale. So, just if you guys were curious how a Gundam would measure up to a fighter jet, there you go. Gundam is going to be a bit bigger. And I'll do this size comparison once again after I transform the Valkyrie into Batroid mode. So I guess that about does it for part 1. That was the fighter mode. And in part 2, I'm going to transform this guy, and we'll take a look at Gerwalk mode along the way. And make sure to stay tuned for part 3, and I'll go over the figure in Batroid mode.